Hello everyone, and welcome back for another RGB RPG's DM Prep Guide. Today we're taking a look at session 18 of our Descent into Avernus campaign, and it's a pretty pivotal moment in the campaign. The party has spent several sessions in Avernus, but in the city of El Turel, as it's being dragged down into the river Styx below, a massive battle raging between demons and devils several hundred feet below the city. So we're reaching a turning point here because now the party is going to receive the means to essentially see the path forward. But we'll go ahead and do a quick recap of the other sessions leading up to this point. The party has made it out of the High Hall Cathedral with lead to track down Ulder Ravengard, the former Flaming Fist commander, or still Flaming Fist commander technically, that was dragged down into Avernus with Elturel, being deceived by Thavius Krieg to join the meeting that saw Ulder and several other prominent figures dragged down here. Ulder has made his way over to the Grand Cemetery, Elturel's main cemetery, and he's searching for an item that he knows to be there, something he thinks might be able to help him find some answers. The Helm of Torm's Sight, a magical helm that is blessed by Torm and allows communication with that deity. Ulder's gone there, things have not gone well, and now he is wearing the helm and is locked in a battle for his mind and soul between Torm and one of the demon princes, Baphomet. The party made their way down there past Gideon Lightward, who is thoroughly been corrupted. He is a former captain of the Hell Riders, Elturel's elite fighting force. This has some major implications for Rhea that we'll get into in a minute. But Gideon allows the party to go below and try and rescue Ulder after the party has convinced Gideon that their intention is to stop whatever demonic presence is forcing itself on the world down below. So that's where we are now. The party has made it down there. They have met Ulder. They have destroyed the initial round of defenders, and they need to try and figure out how to get the helm off of Ravengard. Surprisingly to me, but again, I don't know why I'm surprised by this with the party I have, but their first instinct is to just kill him and take the helm. Very Avernus of them. But we're going to have Rhea interrupt that. Of course, if they try to proceed, if they insist on proceeding, we'll allow them to, but we're going to try to wait, we're going to try to push that away. At least a little bit of an attempt there. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let's go ahead and dive into the meat and potatoes of this prep video. So we have our checklist. You all notice that I've made some small adjustments to my checklist. It's been several months, if not almost a year, since I've made any meaningful changes to it. And so I decided it was time to kind of get in there and see what might change. I actually added something back in that I had previously taken out, and I feel like my prep is much better for it. I used to combine key points and paths ahead. If you're following along with Sly Flourish, it would be secrets and clues, and I think it's potential scenes, he puts them as. I like to call them the paths ahead and the key points. I combined those into one to kind of streamline my prep process a little bit more, but I found that my direction wasn't as solid anymore. So I separated those back out, and you'll see that here. I've also combined the NPC section from major and minor NPCs and having their own two different sections. I've combined those together to just be the NPC section. And the idea with that is that if an NPC is important enough, it'll have more information, more details. The minor NPCs will just have less details, less information. That's how you can tell the difference. Instead of trying to kind of putting the label on them. Minor NPC, major NPC, more work goes into this one, less work goes into this one. Kind of just seeing them all as just the NPCs of the story. So those are the major changes that we've made. You'll see a little bit of a change in how I'm laying out the potential foes section, but nothing really changing there, just a little bit added to it. So we review the players to start. This party, I've had one or two of them that have given me pretty in-depth backstories with some goals in mind. But for the most part, their goals are save Elturel, get us out of the Nine Hells, which is perfectly fine. It helps me out a lot in telling the story when backstories are that straightforward. But yeah, so Valifon will have a lot more opportunity to explore Avernus and really get to know the culture of the place that he spent so long researching. And as far as the item that Anicola is looking for, I have decided that item was taken from the city almost as soon as it fell by a hag by the name of Mad Maggie, who in turn sold that item to another hag who lives somewhere farther into Avernus in a place called the Bone Brambles, and then she in turn traded it to Mahadi, the owner and proprietor of the Wandering Emporium, which will become a major asset for the party later. So yeah, those are the two backstories that we have that are really linked in. Everyone else is just here to kick ass and take names for the most part. So then we go to outlining our paths ahead, one of the major changes that I made to the prep document. And you'll see that now, instead of having them all in the keys, we've separated out the paths ahead. And this is kind of the breakdown of the way I expect the session to go. Not so much details as much as scenarios that I expect to play out. So 1 or 2 lines per hour of gameplay is what you're aiming for here. 1 or 2 lines per hour of gameplay. So we have removed the helm from the vault of Ascendance where Ulder and the party currently are. Close the portal. That's the first one. Then once they've finished that, Gideon is still waiting for them upstairs. They need to figure out what to do about that. Gideon, his motivations are interesting. He will make it clear that the party has to come to some sort of decision regarding him and his presence here. But on the way back from dealing with Gideon, a Bone Devil attacks. I had this encounter prepped for on the way to the cemetery, but it just made more sense to do it now. So I've upped the danger of it a little bit, added some Spine Devils instead of some zombies and stuff, and yeah, that's an encounter for on the way back. That encounter can easily be pulled out if necessary, if it doesn't seem to flow right, but we do have an encounter there. The return to the High Hall Cathedral is the main real story turn here. When they return to the High Hall Cathedral, they're going to try to hopefully find a way to remove the helm safely from Ulder if they haven't already. Lulu's has some more memories unlocked and things like this. And this is where they get to view the visions offered by Torm and unlock more of those memories. This is a big deal. This is what shows the party the goals of the rest of the adventure. Find the Sword of Zerial. So huge part, more of Lulu's memories get unlocked, more details of what happened to her specifically, and of what has transpired in the time that Zerial has spent in Avernus. So yeah, that's a big one. That's the main portion of what we're going to get into today. Of course, the visions can be had sooner if the party does remove the helm from Ulder successfully, or removes Ulder from the helm, if you know what I mean. So they can't get the visions other ways and unlock Lulu's memories even before they get back to the High Hall Cathedral. There's even potential that they don't even go back to the High Hall, that they just say, wash their hands of it. They know where to get the sword now, and they make their way down. Unlikely, but possible. So yeah, the paths ahead, 1 or 2 lines per hour of gameplay, and I've found that I've used this for about 3 sessions now. Used this change for a few of my other games, and it has really helped me to have a firmer handle on what I expect to happen during the session. And that's what the prep is for, right? The more prepared you feel, the better you'll do when you go in. So yeah, gets us down to our key points. The helm can be removed from Ravengard by Faria and Ellen back at the High Hall, or by the party using the correct magic, some sort of restoration magic, really anything that could be. I'll let the party get creative with that, but various different magics could work, and a DC, sorry, I meant to change that, and a DC 16 Wisdom save. Get the helmet off Ulder safely. Removing Ulder from the chamber, or removing the helmet from Ulder, closes the portal. Baphomet is charging at them. I basically am using that as a kind of a stressor, kind of a make a decision now type of situation. If Baphomet does make it all the way to the portal, the only thing that's going to get through is his hand, and he's going to be swiping back and forth because he hasn't had long enough to extend the portal. So he's going to be swiping back and forth, trying to kill the party. Basically just going to be dexterity saving throws versus big damage. So yeah. Removing the helm closes the portal, chops off the hand, immediately dissolves into ichor. They've made an enemy type of thing. If they allow Baphomet to make it all the way to the portal, which is unlikely but possible. So there has been talk about killing Ulder. Rhea will intervene in that case, kind of like, what have we become? Is this our answer to everything now type of situation? And if they do kill Ulder, then Rhea's corruption will essentially be complete, and she will join, not necessarily with Gideon, but her path towards spending an eternity fighting devils will be sealed if that happens. If that doesn't happen, Gideon will try to convince her. There's still hope, though. So yeah, Rhea intervenes if they try to kill Ulder. If they kill him anyways, then things go a little bit darker for Rhea. But if Ravenguard is killed, whoever picks up the helm, or his head will be overwhelmed with an urge to put that helmet on. Doing so gives them the same condition that Ulder was suffering from, stuns them. They get all these visions. So that brings us to getting the party back up to the surface, and there Gideon has to be convinced to allow the players to leave. This will be especially difficult if one of them is wearing the helm and muttering in Infernal. So yeah, Gideon will have to be talked into allowing them to leave, and during that time, he will try to justify his actions to the party, especially to Rhea, going as far as to giving them his journal that has a lot of his ramblings and details his first encounter with Zariel and the way that she presented herself to him. So if a fight does break out, that'll be a pretty interesting encounter. Gideon is very strong with regenerative abilities, but definitely will be an interesting encounter. So this leads us to being back on the way to the cathedral. We talked about the Bone Devil encounter earlier, a Bone Devil with several Spines Devils in tow. Pretty fun encounter, lots of flying mechanics going on there. But yeah, then they get back to the High Hall, and we get the visions. We get, once the helm is put on safely by somebody and then removed after being cleansed by Faria, then interesting things. We get a lot of visions. Lulu's memories become unlocked, and Lulu shares a whole lot, leading the party to the sword. Anyone who sees the visions gets the unshakable feeling that Zariel's sword is the key to saving Elturel. Lulu has visions that open up more of what happened to her, lead the party to the new locations, and essentially point them in the direction of the sword. So yeah, the main path forward after this is that Lulu gets the visions of Fork Knucklebone. Gargoth recognizes the description, and if he hasn't chimed in already, he will let the party know he knows how to get there. Lulu can also vaguely direct them there. But yeah, that's the path towards Fork Knucklebone. And now it takes us to our non-player character section, or NPC section. Rhea, we've been talking about her throughout. She idolized Thavius Krieg and Gideon Lightward. Two of her heroes have now fallen. She has a choice now to become the hero that she idolized and become that example for her people. The good ending for Rhea. I forgot to mention, one way or another, Rhea does stay behind here in Elturel. She will be vastly outclassed if they make it down to the surface with her, and Ulder will attempt to get her to stay. She'll recommend staying. But again, we'll go back to Rhea's arc here, the closing of her arc. If the party can help her pull herself out of this disillusionment that she's feeling, in that case, she may try to become the hero that she idolized, that she thought these other people were, that these other men were. And then she could become the defender. Perhaps Ulder will take her under his wing and say not everything is so black and white. They let that distinction drive them too far, and look what became of them. The balance is what's necessary. Kind of like I was about to make a Star Wars analogy, but it didn't really come out. But finding the balance between the dark and the light inside of themselves is what Ulder will try to talk to Rhea about. But if things go too badly, Gideon is allowed to speak too long to Rhea. Rhea is allowed to flip through that journal, unsupervised, I guess would be the way to put that. or if the party kills Ulder, one of the only good, truly benevolent people left in the city. Although he's not perfect, he is doing the right thing, or doing his best to do the right thing. If the party kills him, Rhea's downfall will pretty much be sealed. One way or another, she will become disillusioned to the point that she agrees with Gideon and agrees with Davius, and will side with Zariel and potentially come back as a Death Knight or a Narzugan later in the adventure to fight the party and kind of show them like they've failed Rhea, essentially. Hopefully it doesn't come to that. Hopefully we get the good ending with Rhea, but that's always an option there. And one of the things to really take into account when running Descent into Avernus, the party's choices matter, and this is a very morally heavy adventure. If the party makes decisions, they should have major consequences later, especially when they're making these moral questions, like to kill Ulder, or to try to show Rhea the right path, or alternatively ignoring Rhea and letting her fall down the path that she is tumbling down right now. Those are things that should come back later to haunt the party. So that's what we've got planned for Rhea. Gideon, very simple. He is fully corrupted. He believes that nothing is more important than the war against the demons. The idea that he is fighting on the side of devils does not even register for him. He is fighting demons, and that is all that matters to him. Ulder is in a shit situation and doing his best. He is the best hope for Elturel to survive the coming days or possibly weeks that the party will need to recover Zariel's sword and free Elturel. So, yeah. Ulder, if he dies, there's not much hope left. There may be a few survivors. The party may get like a couple hundred people out, so on and so forth. But without Ulder, Elturel stands very little chance of stopping the onslaught that is coming for them. Gargoth, we have here. I added a bunch more than I wonder what happened to it. Weird. Essentially, he is going to be done kind of cowering and hiding back, and he's going to begin to put his own plan in place now. He knows that he needs the party in order to be successful, so he is going to start trying to do his best to align with them in a way that will also benefit him. And so he will say something along the lines of, we need to redeem Zariel. She doesn't belong here. This isn't her place. He essentially wants to get Zariel out of the way so that the only rival for his power is Bel. He'll do that by letting the players know that he will help them and agreeing to help them retrieve the sword and redeem Zariel. And in return, they have to agree to help him get out of the shield. It's a pretty simple deal there. And furthermore, he intends to try and... Well, I have players that kind of watch these a couple sessions after they've happened, so I don't want to go into too many details, but he has a plan to essentially get the players to help him take down Bel, his other rival, Avernus. So Bel's out of the way, Zariel is redeemed, Gargoth becomes the new Archduke of Avernus. That's his endgame. Then we have Lulu. Lulu gets a lot of memories coming up now, and the more memories she gets, the less bubbly and enthusiastic. Not so much enthusiastic. She's going to keep her enthusiasm, but the less perfect My Little Pony princess she becomes, and the more serious war mammoth she cuts back to. And it becomes more and more of, she is always going to be that light for the party, but more valiant. Instead of just charging blindly in, more strategy and things like that, as she remembers and recovers more memories, and remembers some of the traumas that she's been through. Namely, the first one that the party is about to get right now is her and Yale, Zariel's general, hiding the sword and birthing the citadel and the scab in the process. Okay, so notable locations. We still have Elturel currently being dragged down into the first layer, into the River Styx. The Grand Cemetery, we're not going to spend too much longer there. Back to the High Hall, and then we have the cacophony of combat below the city. Not too much as far as new scenes today. A lot of stuff we've been through, we've already been over. Our relevant stat blocks. We have our confrontation with Gideon Lightward. He is an interesting enemy to say the least. Gideon has regenerative capabilities. He has a withering gaze that can be devastating towards strength-based characters. Multi-attack. He is in a pile of hit points. He is a dangerous adversary. The Mezzaloths have more crowd control and more support capabilities, being able to release Cloud Kill at once per day. And then zombies and skeletons for backup in that encounter. Um, Essentially an endless amount of them. They will keep coming until Gideon is slain. Stop. And then we have the Bone Devil encounter. Very simple. I talked about this earlier. He's leading a patrol, spots the party moving through the city, drives down, tries to kill them. Pretty straightforward. Bone Devil and I think 4 Spine Devils. Items and rewards. We have the Helm of Torm's Sight. Interesting item. Not really any major mechanical attributes to it, other than the fact that they get hits essentially when they want them. That's the really best way to describe the Helm of Torm's Sight. We have a couple spell scrolls. The Mass Healing Word and Remove Curse scrolls can be used to attempt that DC 16 Wisdom save to get the helm off of Ulder safely. And then we have tongues there as well. Ulder's gear. If Ulder does die, he has a shield and a +1 longsword. Again, not the best outcome, but if that does happen, we are prepared for it. But that is pretty much what we've got going for today. Our campaign map right now is pretty straightforward. Rescue Ulder, get to the surface, recover his aerial sword. There's going to be a lot of stuff between these 2 points here, like a lot. But that's the base campaign map right now. Alright, so yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. I'll be sure to make a new video, a new outline video going over the prep template again, since it has had some changes done to it. But thank you all for watching. Again, if you're watching this on YouTube, these videos do arrive on my Patreon a full month before they arrive here on YouTube, so be sure to check that out. That will be linked below. But thank you very much for watching, and have a good one.